Have you ever wondered what would happen if Emperor Mark was present during the Invincible War? How many lives could have been saved? How many heroes like Rex and Darkwing might have survived instead of giving their lives in one of the deadliest events in Earth's history? Our story starts when Angstrom attacks Mark and sends him through numerous dimensions before the Invincible War. During that event, Mark lands in the universe of an old, dying Emperor Mark, who comes from a universe almost identical to the main one, just thousands of years into the future. Here, he offers young Mark something that blows his mind. He says he will transfer his own consciousness into young Mark, so that Mark gains the experience of Emperor Mark and can grow stronger fast. Emperor Mark does this to prepare for the upcoming fight with Conquest and the Viltrumite War, but without knowing it, he is about to help Mark in the Invincible War too. As soon as Emperor Mark mixes his consciousness with young Mark, Angstrom opens a portal and pulls Mark back to his own universe. Emperor Mark steps in and kills Angstrom, but Angstrom is saved by the technicians. After this fight with Angstrom, Mark begins training aggressively, trying his best to get close to his Emperor version's strength before Conquest arrives, since he cannot take on Conquest alone with this young body. In this timeline, Mark and Cecil's relationship does not collapse, because he knows that whatever Cecil is trying to do is for the greater good. While training, Mark uses Immortal and Cecil's Reanimin as sparring partners, and this even helps D.A. Sinclair and Cecil make the Reanimin tougher than they ever were in the original timeline. Thanks to all of this, Mark grows even stronger than Nolan, and is currently one of the 3 strongest Viltrumites alive, behind only Conquest and Thrag. Soon, Anissa arrives to check up on Earth and Mark. Mark first tries to talk her down, since Anissa is bound to turn good later and regret her actions, but it is no use. Anissa uses her super speed and immediately starts attacking Mark aggressively, yet he is barely hurt and defends himself with ease. He then starts showing her techniques even she has never seen, and thanks to his thousands of years of battle experience, he humiliates her, unlike the original timeline where Anissa was the one who humiliated him. Anissa cannot believe that Mark has grown this powerful while living on Earth. Just then, Cecil's Reanimin arrive alongside the Guardians of the Globe, with Adam Eve among them. Realizing she is now heavily outnumbered and that continuing the fight serves no purpose, Anissa decides to leave, but before leaving, warns Mark of Conquest's arrival, which luckily he knows due to his Emperor Mark's consciousness. Soon, the time for Conquest's arrival comes near, but what this Mark does not know is that Angstrom is about to attack Earth with his evil Invincible variants even before that. Angstrom begins his plan, opening his portals and sending all of his variants through, with the intent of causing as much destruction as possible to make the entire world fear and hate Invincible. At that moment, Mark and Eve are relaxing in Mark's home when Eve receives a call from Peyton Penitentiary, which is in the middle of being attacked. The attack prompts the prison to call Invincible Incorporated for help, and they inform Adam Eve that Invincible is attacking them, which stuns her. Just like in the original timeline, all the variants pour in and start wreaking havoc. No hero or civilian can believe Invincible has turned evil, as these variants destroy every part of the world. The mainline Invincible soon reaches Peyton Penitentiary, where he finds himself facing off against the variant responsible for the attack. Mohawk Mark initially thinks Invincible is one of his allies, only to realize he is the Invincible of this universe. This time, Invincible beats his variant easily, without much of a struggle, and makes sure to kill him. Eve is stunned. She cannot believe Invincible killed his own variant without hesitation. What she doesn't realize is that this young Invincible now carries thousands of years of battle experience, and the mind of a man who will one day become the strongest being in the universe. While the chaos continues, Debbie, Oliver, and the others watch the news broadcast, showing how major cities around the world are being attacked by multiple individuals resembling Invincible, with local and government forces completely overwhelmed. Oliver changes into his Kid Omni-Man costume, determined to help fight the evil variants, but Debbie tells him not to come back to the house if any of the Invincible variants come looking for them. At the Pentagon, Cecil and Donald watch as a group of Reanimin beat Flaxansible to death. Cecil is injured, and Donald's synthetic skin is damaged from the fight. Donald explains that the team believes Flaxansible and the others come from alternate dimensions where Mark is not heroic, and notes there are at least 18 of them around the world. Luckily, Cecil launches his Reanimin to deal with the weaker looking ones, while the stronger ones like Prisoner Mark and Sinister Mark have to be handled by people like the Guardians and Invincible. As the war continues into day 2, Britt begins ordering heroes into the transporters. Heroes including Two Punch Man, Business Baby, Throwbolt, The Hunk, and many others step through to battle the evil Invincibles, especially the weaker-looking variants that are mostly outside America. Invincible and Adam Eve fly across the ruined city, taking in the destroyed buildings and the many bodies left behind. Eve tells Mark that things are really bad, with Invincible variants appearing everywhere. She suggests taking them down one by one before tracking down whoever is responsible. Invincible suspects it is Angstrom Levy, even though he was initially certain he had already killed him. Right then, Mark and Eve spot Hoodvincible fighting a group of heroes. The heroes manage to land a few hits and even draw blood, but it is not enough. Hoodvincible quickly overwhelms them, slamming the ground and declaring that they are only seeing a fraction of his power. Invincible and Adam Eve rush in and manage to overpower him, but the fight shifts when Omnivincible suddenly joins in. Mark asks Eve to leave and trust him, but she hesitates, since there are now two variants jumping him at once. Seeing her hesitation, Mark decides to show her a glimpse of his real power and begins overwhelming both variants at the same time. Neither of them can believe this timeline's Mark is this strong, and they ask Angstrom to send in more powerful variants to deal with him. Eve, who now trusts Mark, heads off to help other heroes and civilians. While Mark fights the two of them, he very smartly tricks them into punching each other and uses that opening to kill Omnivincible by tearing him in half. This brutality is one of the reasons he asked Eve to leave, because he does not want her to see this cold, brutal side of him again. Meanwhile, Adam Eve, who is helping some civilians, gets a call from Cecil to help the Guardians defeat another evil Mark. She rushes over to find Immortal struggling to kill Goggles Mark, who is playing with them like they are toys. Darkwing asks Eve to help him push Goggles Mark into his dark dimension, and while the variant's focus is locked on Immortal, Eve manages to sneak in and attack. With Immortal's help, they shove him into the dark dimension. The three of them are then called to help Rex, Robot, and Monster Girl, who are facing another variant. With all of the Guardians and Adam Eve working together, they manage to push this one into the dark dimension as well, and then move on to protect civilians and fight off the remaining variants. On the other hand, Hoodvincible is struggling badly against Invincible, who now carries the mind of Emperor Mark. But just then, Angstrom sends in three of the strongest variants: Sinister Mark, the strongest of them all, along with Prisoner Mark and Viltrumite Mark. All three possess tremendous power and experience. In fact, each of them is stronger than the original timeline's Mark. The problem is that they are not fighting the original Mark. They are fighting Emperor Mark in original Mark's body. They argue with Angstrom that it is insulting to gang up on a single Mark like this, when one of them alone would be more than enough. Hoodvincible tries to explain that this Mark is stronger than anyone they have ever faced, but before he can finish, Invincible snaps his head and kills him right then and there. Seeing Hoodvincible killed this easily, even though he was one of the stronger variants, the three of them waste no time and jump Mark. While Prisoner Mark and Sinister Mark fight him head-on, Viltrumite Mark takes the chance to slash at Mark's stomach, but he is not able to land a critical hit. Mark dodges just in time, though he still takes a cut to the stomach. With both Prisoner Mark and Sinister Mark attacking at once, the main Mark gets pushed back, since his body is still not built to fight two of the strongest variants at the same time. Not to mention Viltrumite Mark constantly sneaking up on him with slashes meant to deal critical damage. Seeing no other option, Mark flies away from the city, and all three variants chase him at full speed. Sinister Mark is the fastest and almost catches him, but this is all part of the main Mark's plan. He suddenly stops dead while flying at high speed, and Sinister Mark crashes straight into him. Mark drives his elbow into Sinister Mark's skull and breaks it, leaving him with a critical injury to his head and his vision. But just then, Prisoner Mark sneaks up and lands solid hits, and while Mark is busy defending himself, Viltrumite Mark catches him off guard and slashes his stomach and back, leaving him with some critical injuries. While the main Mark bleeds heavily, the other two go to check on Sinister Mark, who is still able to stand despite his injuries and is furious at the main Mark. But just then, Adam Eve arrives with Immortal, and the two of them jump Sinister Mark. Prisoner Mark tries to attack them, but the main Mark punches him so hard he goes hundreds of feet underground. Viltrumite Mark goes for another slash, but this time the main Mark is the one who slashes first. His strike is so clean and precise, thanks to his thousands of years of fighting experience, that it kills Viltrumite Mark on the spot. The slash lands across his neck, so he bleeds out within seconds. Prisoner Mark climbs back out of the ground and takes Mark up into the sky, and the two of them start punching and kicking each other aggressively, like true Viltrumites. On the other hand, hand, Adam Eve distracts Sinister Mark while Immortal sneaks up and lands blows. But even with a body this badly injured, Sinister Mark manages to overpower Immortal. Just then, Rex arrives, throwing explosions right onto Sinister Mark's wounds and taunting him. Annoyed, Sinister Mark rushes at full speed toward Rex, but at that exact moment, Darkwing opens his portal and Sinister Mark falls straight into the dark dimension. Just like that, 3 variants die inside Darkwing's portal, and Rex manages to survive. Just as they think about going to help the main Mark in his fight against Prisoner Mark, it suddenly starts to rain blood. They look up and see Prisoner Mark's body parts falling from the sky one by one, and then they see the main Mark himself, covered head to toe in blood, coming down slowly and still bleeding heavily. They rush him to the hospital, and when he wakes up, he has a big smile on his face. He managed to end the Invincible War in just 2 days while preventing countless deaths. And more importantly, the battle pushed him even further beyond his limits. And now, with the Invincible War behind him, Mark is more than ready for conquest and the rest of the Viltrumites.